I spent years of my life living in fear, rotting away in my room, never getting out of bed for days because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want people to see who I truly was and how much I was struggling. I struggled with intense, severe depression and anxiety for 7+ years of my life, and I eventually fell into numerous addictions that took me years to get out of. I thought of this concept to give advice to my 18-year-old self, or anybody that is in the position that I once was and feels helpless, feels like they have no purpose, and feels like they're living the same year over and over again. To start this video, I want to read this journal entry that I wrote when I was 17 years old to give you guys an idea of where I'm coming from. My main goal in my life every day is to be the person that nobody is anymore. I want to be a genuine and caring individual, someone that you can trust with anything. I have always been so driven to make people happy. Every day when I wake up, it's my goal to exert positive energy into the negativity-filled world. And this journal entry, which I also wrote at 16 years old. I apologize to all the people that I push away in my life. I'm sorry for not letting people help me and wanting to be alone. I'm sorry for feeling like I don't meet anybody's standards. I'm so sorry for not loving myself the way people love me. I'm sorry for not allowing myself to feel okay. These are the words of a broken young man. A young man that had been corrupted by the death of his father at 14 years old, and later the death of one of his best friends by his own hand, if you can pick up what I'm putting down. I went through a lot when I was a child, and it sent me into a spiral for a long time. But now that I sit here and I talk to you about how I triumphed over it, I want to explain that first off, the biggest shift that I ever made in my life was realizing that I had a decision to make. What happened to me in my life was not my fault, but how I decided to react to it for years after that was entirely my fault. And it wasn't until I took 100% ownership over my life that I began to truly feel fulfilled. As you can hear in that first journal entry, I always had it inside of my heart to be compassionate towards others, to empathize with them, to always try to give the helping hand whenever I had the opportunity. And in the second journal entry, you realize that even though I had these great intentions and I had this great vision for my life, I couldn't even help myself. I was focused on lending that helping hand and being that person that people can depend on before I even learned how to love myself. And that brings up my first point. Everything starts with you. Your ability to love others, your ability to respect others, your ability to trust others all starts with the relationship that you build within yourself. It is not a curse that you feel deeply for others. It is not a curse that you want to help them any chance that you get. But if you don't help yourself first, you'll never be able to help others the way that you intend anyways. You will be so corrupted and so broken, confused in your own life that you will not be able to sustain that lifestyle for long. No matter how much knowledge you gain, how much awareness you gain, how much you heal even, you will never escape being human. You will never escape the fact that you are a human being with limitations and that you yourself also feel pain. I think it's important to live a life that's bigger than yourself, but if you live a life where you give all of your energy away to other people and leave none for yourself, you will be miserable regardless of the impact that you have on other people. And as you can see from those journal entries, that is precisely the life that I lived for so many years. I made everybody around me happier. I brightened up their life. I brought humor to dark situations. But I myself internally was still struggling with intense darkness and misery and depression. I was so focused on being likable and how I was being perceived that I would do anything at the detriment of myself in order to maintain the reputation that I had built. The reputation as the group therapist, the reputation as the dependable friend that's always there when you need him. And even though that compassion has never left and led me to eventually first turn on the camera and find my ultimate purpose, I do believe this was one of the worst behaviors that I had at a young age. You must be able to discover who you are. You must be able to face reality and all of the pain and discomfort that comes with it. A lot of times people will disguise their productivity, their efforts to help others, their compassion as a distraction from themselves. They disguise that as an effort to be genuine, an effort to be a good person, but in reality, they're selfishly running from themselves. Yes, of course, they are compassionate and they are trying to help people, but a part of that is trying to heal themselves simultaneously. I want you to ask yourself how much you can truly even offer if you can't even help yourself, if you yourself can't even live a healthy lifestyle. And as you get older, it breaks down. The advice that you give no longer holds as much weight because people no longer just hear the words coming out of your mouth. They look at the life that you're living. They look at your own behaviors and your own state of mind. And if you yourself is not showing up for yourself, then you will no longer be credible to the people you're trying to help. At the end of that second journal entry, you hear me tell myself that I'm sorry for not allowing myself to feel okay, for always focusing on the negative, which brings me to my next point. You need to center your entire life on bare minimum gratitude. See, I will describe it as bare minimum gratitude because 99% of you watching this video have a roof over your head. You get to eat every single day, and 100% of you woke up today. These are things that we become entitled to. They are things that we get used to over time because we always had them. But that doesn't make it any less of a privilege. It doesn't make it any less of a blessing for you to be able to take care of yourself, to have the resources and opportunity to struggle. For so many years, I would focus on the fact that I was struggling. And the more that I focused on that, my energy flowed to it. All of my emotions were tailored to it. And I was conditioning my own mind to look for any lack within my life. So much so that I almost put a veil, a blindfold over my own eyes, not being able to see all of the amazing things that God was blessing me with every single day. You live the life that you focus on. What you choose to think about the most is how you will perceive the world around you. You heard again in those journal entries me say I want to put positive light into a negative filled world. But that was only my perception of the world at the time. Now I look outside every day and I thank God for waking me up, for keeping me in good health, and giving me the life to have the opportunity to struggle towards my goals. I no longer see the world as this gloomy and horrible place. I no longer see the world as a punishment that I must live until I pass on, like I did for so many years. And the only difference was that I changed my perception of the world around me. I changed what I choose to focus on. And I realized that it wasn't all the external factors that were dragging me down and making me hate my life so much. It was what I was choosing to focus on. It was what I was pouring my energy into every single day and giving all of my thought to on a daily basis. Now that I focus on being grateful for even the tiniest things that most people don't even notice because they're so stuck in their own head, there is not a day that goes by where I do not feel overwhelming joy. This is somebody that you heard in that journal entry that was helpless, that felt completely miserable, that was running from himself, that couldn't even deal with his own thoughts. And now every day I am overwhelmed by how grateful I am for my life, because that's what I focus on. That's what I choose to think about. And people will argue that, oh, you must not have as much bad things going on in your life now. It has never changed. God has never stopped challenging me. God has never stopped putting things in my life that push me to the edge. but I simply just address them differently. I no longer see struggle as a punishment. I no longer see struggle as something that is meant to break me down. I now realize that all of those times in my life where I thought it was the worst thing that could possibly happen and I was the unluckiest person on the planet were the best times of my life. They made me who I am right now. They made me be able to put on this camera and even give you good advice on how to change your own life. And you can feel my passion. You can feel the energy pouring out of me as I talk about this. Because there are so many of you watching this video right now that think you were just meant to come here, be born to suffer, to feel only pain, and then to die. But that is just not the truth. You are meant to flourish. You are talented. You are valuable. The external things don't make you valuable. The external things that people cling to, like status and social perception and money and materials, all of that shit means nothing. You are valuable now. Stop thinking in your head that you are only valuable when you achieve status, when you get a girlfriend, when you have enough friends, when you become successful, when you build the business. You're valuable now. You have worth now. There is things about you now that are worth being proud of. I have always had this gift to make an impact on people. And I always did make that impact on people. I always went out of my way to make others feel good about themselves, to make their life a little bit better than it was before they encountered me. I always had that gift, but the thing I was withholding was the gift from myself. The same compassion that I gave to others, the same forgiveness that I gave to others, the same grace that I gave to others, I wasn't giving it to myself. And I believe that if you clicked on this video today, you share a similar mindset. You have this passion inside of you. You have this willingness to care for people in a way that is rare nowadays. You don't take people for granted. You try to pour as much love and care and compassion into every single person that you encounter. And sometimes you feel like it's a curse because people don't care about you the way that you care about them. But I'm here to tell you that you can prevail from it. You just need to control it. You need to control your emotions. You need to become your own biggest supporter instead of your own worst enemy. And you need to channel all of that passion and energy that you have to be able to harness it into a calculated plan and structure that is going to work for your life. You don't have to live by your wounds. You don't have to stop helping people. You don't have to stop being that genuinely kind person. You don't have to stop pouring your heart and soul into everything that you do. You don't need to live in fear and guard yourself because you had a few bad experiences. That is just choosing to succumb to the darkness. That is just choosing to say that everything that you've been through was for nothing and it's more powerful than you will ever be. There was a period of my life where all I could think of was taking my own life. There was a period of my life where I dove into substances and locked myself in my room and sat in the dark after school every single day until 4 a.m. in the morning, literally losing my mind. And now I live a life where I help people in a calculated manner, where I've poured so much love and attention into myself that I have the capability to do that without a detriment to myself, without hurting myself, without no longer self-sabotaging myself through my purpose. I believe in you, and I believe that you can get through this, but you have to be brutally honest with yourself. What decisions are you making on a daily basis to reinforce the life that you claim you don't want? Because a lot of you say you want to change. A lot of you say, oh, this is the last year that I treat myself like this. This is the last year that I let people treat me this way. But then you go back to the same people. You keep repeating the same behaviors and you don't show up the way that you say you would. And the more that you make promises to yourself and let yourself down, the more you reinforce to yourself that you can't trust yourself. And that breaks down your confidence because all self-confidence is self-trust. Because confidence is not built by looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, telling yourself how great you are, and giving yourself compliments and affirmations. It's built through real action. It's built through saying, I want to be this type of person, and taking the actions to actually become that person. It's not through clinging to the affirmations and praise that other people give you and seeking confidence externally. It is strictly inside of yourself. It is an individual mission where you set out goals for yourself and you actually accomplish them because you show up for yourself. For so long, I thought I hated my life. I thought that I genuinely hated the life that I was living. But what I really hated was pretending. I hated maintaining 5 different personalities, trying to change who I was for every new person that came into my life, just to try to be more likable, only to be let down by the fact that through my desperation to be liked, through my desperation to be accepted, I was only repelling people further away from me. And that reality is the same for a lot of you. You're just sick of pretending. You're sick of pretending to be somebody that you're not, because you think who you genuinely are is not enough. You think that who you are is not sufficient enough, valuable enough in this moment to be appreciated, to be loved. And that is your first mistake. Even with all the progress I have made in my life, there is still so much for me to learn, so many ways I can develop, and so many ways I could become a better person. And that is the truth for all of us in this video, all of us watching the video and me making the video. But you need to realize that you aren't just some useless human being that was doomed to have no purpose, and you are worth loving now. But you have to be the first person to love who you are. You have to love yourself enough to show up for yourself, to build that evidence in your life, proving you are who you say you are. That is the only path to confidence. It is extremely uncomfortable. It is going to force you to become someone that you have never been before through your behaviors, but what you're really doing is becoming more of who you were meant to be. See, a lot of people think they have to kill off who they are, who they genuinely are to the core of their heart in order to change their life and be a better person. But the truth is that you just need to become who you truly are. You need to become more of who you are, because the addicted version of you, the version of you that just lusts after every woman and thinks you need a girlfriend back to back to back, thinks that you need to be accepted by the popular kids and be invited to all the parties, thinks that they need to compromise who they are in order to be appreciated in any way, was never who you were meant to be. It was never who you were meant to be. The depressed version of you, the anxious version of you, the addicted version of you, that is not who you were meant to be. That is how you are treating your problem. That is not your problem. That is how you are treating your problem. And all that needs to change is not who you are internally to the core of your soul, but everything around it, everything that makes you who you are on a daily basis. What do I mean by this? It means changing bad habits for good ones. It means not giving all your energy away to people and finally putting some attention and energy into yourself. It means not running from your problems and distracting yourself, but actually facing them and facing all of the pain that comes with it. You're living your life staring at this wall of fear that you have curated in your own mind. But the only reason that you think that what you're afraid of is this insurmountable mission, an insurmountable task, is because that is the meaning that you have applied to it. Nothing in life has power unless you give it power. Nothing in life has meaning until you apply meaning to it. So you must understand that your life and how you see it and how you feel about it is entirely based on your perception of it. You have decided to see your life this way. I don't care what happened to you. I empathize with you. But at a certain point, you have to stop clinging to the things that have hurt you and the people that have hurt you and saying that I have become this way because this person did this to me, because this happened to me. I have been through hell just like you. And I still wake up with a smile every single day. I take accountability for my life, and I'm able to spread positivity and love regardless of all of the things that I have been through individually. The truth is it's not anybody else's problem that you went through that. It is your problem to face. It is your problem to reach out to professionals and get the help that you need to finally take accountability, finally heal from the things that have hurt you, and continue your life. Time doesn't wait for anyone. You have spent enough time clinging to these things that have hurt you. But if they persistently hurt you for years and years to come, that is a decision that you are making over and over again. It is something that you are choosing to revisit because some of you don't want to heal. Some of you actually like being sad. And I know it sounds crazy saying that, but I used to be addicted to the feeling of being sad. I was so depressed for so long that it became my emotional home. My mind was conditioned to cling to sadness because it became my most familiar emotion. And that's where a lot of you are too. And so you need to break out of that. You need to break out of that facade and realize that that is no life to live. That is not a life that is going to lead you in the direction that you truly want. Do not let your initial dreams and aspirations and your path of fulfillment be hindered by the obstacles that are in the way in order to build you up, not break you down. You're trying to seek comfort even in your own sadness, and you're trying to stray away from the things that make you uncomfortable. But those very things that make you uncomfortable are going to be the things that give you purpose, that give you the wisdom, give you the power, give you the strength to even accomplish what God put in your heart, the universe put in your heart, whatever you believe in order to achieve what you truly want to, in order to have the impact that you truly want to have in this life. You need to face all of the pain. The pain is way more important than any good feeling that you have ever had. I used to run from the pain. I used to cover it up with substances and parties and girls, everything you can possibly think of. But all I needed to do was turn around, face the monster, and realize that it was never as scary as I made it up to be in my own mind. That the misery that I felt, the fear that I felt, the depression that I felt, the anxiety that I felt was all a decision that I was continuously choosing to make. And a lot of people are not going to be happy with what I'm saying right now. But I'm saying pain is not a choice. It is something that all of us will experience at one time or another, on one degree or another. But persisting pain is a choice. Persisting pain is a decision. Depression, not an incurable disease. Anxiety, not an incurable disease. Addiction, not an incurable disease. I have been through the worst of the worst when it comes to all of these things, and I have broken free from all of them. And it was in me realizing that it wasn't part of my identity. It wasn't part of who I was. It was just something I was struggling with in the moment. This is going to be part 1 of this series of me talking to my old self and talking to you guys that are in the same situation. Just trying to give you a raw, uncut, unfiltered rant, yapping session of how you can truly take control of your own life again. I was the laziest, most depressed, most miserable person you would ever meet in your life. And here I sit as the happiest person that I know, the most gratitude-filled heart, making an impact on people, living in his purpose every single day. Now you tell me how that happens. If you want to hear raw, authentic, uncut content where I truly tell you guys what I'm going through, my true journey of becoming a successful businessman, becoming a successful young man, overcoming my mental obstacles, all that I've learned from beating depression, anxiety, addiction. I want you to hit the sub button. It's completely free. I post videos every single week, 4 to 7 YouTube videos every single week of just how to take control of your life. I don't come on here and lie. I don't try to sell you this perfect life that I don't live. You finally found somebody that you can feel is a friend to you, that you can feel is on your side and isn't trying to just be somebody that you compare yourself to and feel bad. I tell the truth about my life. I tell the truth about where I'm at, and I tell the truth of what I've learned from all of the hard shit that I have gone through, because I don't want people to feel the pain that I once felt. Hit the sub button, and we'll see you next time.